You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Excited you could join me today on this first of two Cabral House Calls that we do each and every weekend, answering our community's questions. So many amazing questions, so little time, but we're going to do our best as always. Looking forward to hopefully finishing up February's questions that have come in. I know that it's the end of May as I'm recording this. But what I want to let you know is that we will always be able to get to your questions. And you've heard me talking about the last couple of weeks, and kind of more where I'm trying to steer you to go is to cabralsupportgroup.com. And that's because you can basically get daily answers to your questions, right? So what we're trying to do is just build out a trusted health community that you can get support from your peers, like-minded people, but that you can also get answers to your questions from my health coaches, my health coaching team, who are amazing, and they've all worked under me, trained under me, and they're going to know pretty much the same exact answers. And if they don't, then they text me with the screenshot of your question, and I answer that, and then they get back to you. So the answers are coming from me, just in a different kind of roundabout way. However, if you'd like your question read on the Cabral Concept on our podcast on the weekend, and you don't mind waiting, now it's been about 12 weeks. If you don't mind waiting some time, then I'm going to absolutely answer your question. And I'd love to. I really would. I would love to be able to do that. So you let us know however you prefer. If you want it anonymously answered, then simply go to support@stephencabral.com and we can answer it there. I mean, that's another way, is like email support. We're happy to help you out. Online support with our free Facebook group at cabralsupportgroup.com that I just spoke about, or on this podcast at Ask Cabral. I am going to help you get your health, get your weight loss or body transformation, and certainly your longevity and anti-aging plans on track. So we've got those things, right? We've got the wellness, the weight loss, the anti-aging, but I'm also happy to help all those health coaches out there or people looking to break through in terms of some other part of the area that I speak about on the Cabral Concept Motivation and Mindset Mondays. If I'm able to help with any of those things, I will do that. I really will, whether it's referring you to the book or another coach or a lab. Because again, I'm big on bringing the entire community together. And I'm a big believer in bringing other people up and building other people up rather than kind of stepping on them along the way, your path in life. So excited to get into your questions. The first one I see coming in today is from Carla. So I want to get to that one right now. All right. She's asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. I live in a Canadian city that fluoridates its water, and I've been able to use a tabletop distiller to make drinking water for the past 5 years. I've been adding mineral drops back in, as I've heard distilled water can leach minerals in the body. Is this true? Am I doing it enough to make the water safe to drink? I've also heard that distilled water is acidic and not good to drink for that reason. Unfortunately, I rent and can't afford to add special filters to the household system. Thank you very much for any advice you can give. All right, Carla, this is a great question. And again, this is coming in from February 25th. I think you're doing great. You could use reverse osmosis, or you can certainly use a distiller. Now, I'm not sure if maybe you are distilling. That's possible. Distillation actually takes a lot more work than reverse osmosis. So I'm just wondering which one you're doing exactly. Distilling water does make it slightly acidic. It's typically a 7.0 or below in terms of pH. That's okay. It's not necessarily the worst thing. Yes, it does pull out and strip all of the minerals, but you're doing the right thing. You're adding back in your trace minerals. For anybody who wants to know what brands I recommend for trace minerals, simply go to stephencabral.com/podcast and type in trace mineral. And that will bring you to the companies that I recommend. So those are drops. Very, very simple. You literally add about like anywhere between 5 and 8 drops per glass of water. And you just stir it right into your water to add back in some of the trace minerals. So that's great. And I do recommend that. So what do I recommend? Well, go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. So what I'm going to do is just keep referring people back to this page because today is episode 841. So if you go to stephencabral.com/841, you'll see everyone's question. But the reason I keep referring you back to the /podcast page is that you can type in anything you want there. I literally had my web designer say, people want to be able to search previous podcasts and keywords. So it's because of your feedback we created that. So simply type in water filter at stephencabral.com/podcast. You'll get a shower filter, you'll get a bath filter, you'll get drinking water filters. Okay. So it gives you all the different recommendations I give. Now, you could do anything from the zero pitcher, you could do the Berkey pitcher that sits on top of your counter. You can order spring water. Really, it's kind of like fits your budget and fits your lifestyle, whatever works for you. But what you're doing right now works. So it's not that it doesn't. You know that I'm very partial and biased towards spring water because I've never seen anything better than what obviously nature produces itself, and that's spring water. So, but I think you're doing a close second. I really do. And you're removing the fluoride, which is important. Carla, hopefully that helps. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Meghan is up next. Meghan, and so I didn't think, sorry, Carla, I always jump back a little bit. Yes, if you drink distilled water long enough, it will pull minerals from the body. That's why it's actually said to be somewhat of a detoxifier. It's true, but you can take it too far if you use it for too long. And that's because your body needs minerals. Your body needs minerals to blend, I guess that's the best way to say it, with the water so that it's actually absorbable. So that's your answer to that. All right. Meghan's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I've searched through your podcast for your take on copper toxicity and couldn't find what I was looking for, so here it goes. I had a copper IUD in for 10 years and then replaced it with another one a year ago. Had it taken out today. I've been suffering from brain fog, insomnia, recurring UTIs, bladder urgency, recurring yeast infections, chronic, extreme fatigue, dry skin, and most recently, dermal hyperpigmentation above my upper lip out of nowhere. I've been to a dozen specialists, taken countless tests with no help. I'm gluten-free, dairy-free. I've tried the candida, and recently your Dr. Ball detox with not the results I'm looking for. I know this is abnormal. I did the organic acids test with you and subsequently ordered the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol, which I'm waiting for. My OBGYN said none of this is related to my copper IUD and it couldn't cause copper toxicity, but I just don't believe it, so I decided to have the copper IUD removed against a recommendation. Do you recommend the hair tissue mineral analysis for copper? Will I have any success in the yeast protocol? Do you have any recommendations for someone's suspicion of high copper? Do I know that copper toxicity can cause candida overgrowth? Thank you for all you do and looking forward to my coaching session with your team this week to go over my OAT results. All right. So this is in February 25th. So of course, Meghan, you would have already gotten your answer. I would have already reviewed your labs and you would have spoken with one of my health coaches. So, but to answer your question, here's the deal. Yes, I work with many women in my practice who have copper IUDs and they deal a lot with bloating, brain fog, low mood, and skin issues. Okay. So that's big. That goes with almost any IUD, but specifically copper because of the heavy metal. You can actually test your copper levels using a hair tissue mineral analysis. You will not find your copper levels on a organic acids test. It doesn't look for that, but it does look for the yeast and candida that you're talking about. So yes, if you have higher levels of yeast, it will typically hold on to it. Candida does have an affinity for heavy metals. And that's why typically at the same time, we'll do the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. And then 6 to 12 weeks later, we'll do a heavy metal detox. All right. We do both of them. They both work fantastically well. They're both verifiable by lab tests that they work. Okay. So you're on the right track. You're absolutely doing the right thing. And certainly that could be an issue. Just keep in mind, if you have the discoloration of the lip, it could be from higher levels of stress and cortisol production, causing that hyperpigmentation, something that you might get sometimes in Addison's or the name is escaping me right now, but melasma, the pigmentation of the face right there. So all of those are possibilities. I can tell you that for sure. If you have yeast overgrowth, candida overgrowth, and heavy metal, be picked up by the test, the organic acids test, and it will be looked at on the hair tissue mineral analysis. Our team will give you all the different ways to remove the excess copper and help to rebalance the body with the yeast and bacterial overgrowth. That will, of course, if your body and your immune system is not fighting to remove copper from your body, by giving it more zinc to push down the copper, and by using the specific 12-week protocol to remove the yeast from your body, candida overgrowth, any type of bacterial dysbiosis, then your body will be less stressed dealing with that. So that'll absolutely give you the results you're looking for. Excited to hear your transformation. Thank you. All right, Melissa or Melissa is up next. There's only one S in Melissa or Melissa. I'm a big phonetic guy when it comes to speaking. It's the only way I can try to justify the way that I speak. All right. So let's come up next. Her question is, seeking your guidance. We have a 3-year-old son who at the end of last winter, we realized our wood fire was causing him to cough at night. We stopped immediately and the cough went away. Several months later, We had a campfire to cook dinner, forgetting about the cough. And again, our son woke up at 3 a.m. with asthma symptoms and very restricted airways. I tried using essential oils, diffuser, garlic tea, salt, coconut oil to open up his airways, but it has been 2 nights now where we are awake all night. In the past, he had the symptoms on 2 occasions as his father suffered from severe asthma as a child, and I can relate to the tightness in the chest and the short breathing, feeling like we've given him asthma puffer as recommended by a doctor. Can you suggest anything I can do quickly to open up his airways and allow him a night's rest without having to resort to a puffer? It's also your recommendation to never use wood fires and instead use electric heating if living in a cold environment. Thank you. All right. So, Melissa, what I would say is this, and again, so we don't treat or diagnose disease. No one in natural medicine does that. That's for your conventional medicine doctor. What we look for is underlying root imbalances, okay, and root causes. But if you'd like a quick answer from us, that should be at cabralsupportgroup.com. We get hundreds of questions at Ask Cabral. Unfortunately, I'm only one man, and I go in the order that they come in. This one came in February 25th. So, of course, my answer on 3 months later is not of great use for immediate, but hopefully will in the future. Okay, so here's what I recommend. It's a possibility. It's a possibility that your son is suffering from histamine-based issues, and any type of smoked foods, aged foods, fermented foods, fires with smoke, anything like that could cause a constriction in the airways. Histamines will do that. It will cause basically inflammatory constriction of the airways, just having to do with cytokines, mast cell production, and histamine-based response. So the interesting thing is if you use an antihistamine, would that then help his coughing? If it does, so that's why so I'm not an advocate of, that I'm not an advocate of using conventional-based medicine. But in the short term, if you're like, oh, well, and again, I'm not recommending this because I can't recommend this legally. But let's just say you were to use Benadryl when someone was dealing with shortness of breath. And again, I'm not recommending this because I'm not a medical doctor. But let's say you were to do that, and all of a sudden the coughing went away within hours. You know that it was most likely a histamine issue that was causing this asthma attack from the smoke, which produced additional histamines or histamine exacerbation. And you might say, well, why is that the case? Well, if you take an antihistamine, which reduces histamines or blocks the histamine response, and that goes away, well, now you know it's a histamine-based issue. So now, not only can you look at histamine from smoke, also things that would exacerbate asthma and allergies, such as fermented foods, okay, aged foods and cheeses, those types of things, and fermented foods, aged foods, and smoked foods. So you have all your smoked foods and condiments and sauces. All of those things could be exacerbating that on a lower level as well. Now, I dealt with all these things when I was younger. I loved campfires, all those things. They didn't give me asthma, but what they gave me was really red, itchy eyes, okay? So now I've overcome all of these things, and I get to love, one of my favorite things in Maine in the summer is that it's warm during the day, but it's very cool at night. I love that. That's my favorite temperature and favorite weather in the world. It's probably why I also like Southern California when I visit there. So we do fire pits, okay? We do fire pits, and we have a good time with all the cousins and everyone. We all gather around. One of the things is that I can now do that without the red, itchy eyes. So that's what I would look at. And again, I'm not telling you to do that, but that will be a very dead giveaway if it is to do with histamines. And then you can work on mine was gut-based permeability issues. So I sealed up that gut. My immune system then got a chance to calm down over the next 4 to 6 months. It was no longer attacking proteins every day coming through my body. And then I was able to boost my immune system using all the things that I use, which is my vitamin C, and I use my zinc and all of those great products. So, and of course, daily nutritional support and my Dr. All Daily Protocol. That's what I do. It can be used with children as well, obviously at a smaller dosage. Hopefully that helps. All right, Cynthia's up next. Hello, without getting into my whole story, one condition I have is gout. I'm very curious for your view in this. Some say it's a liver issue, some say it's methylation. Without knowing the individual, what do you think is the common thread? Okay, so this is a very interesting question. I'm not sure that I've gotten in-depth on gout before. Actually, you know what I have, because I've given certain recommendations for it. I'll give some of those again today. But so here's the deal with gout. It seems like it's so multifactorial, meaning that a lot of people get gout for what seems like different reasons. So a lot of the times people get gout, and it has been through recorded history, because of they're eating foods that are higher in purines, they're eating a higher protein diet, they're eating red meat, they're eating shellfish, higher in sugar, higher in alcohol. So all of those things that I just mentioned, so basically the red meat, the foods higher in purines, some of the peanuts, things like that, shellfish, processed foods, sugars, alcohol, And believe it or not, some of the higher oxalate foods, although I'm not going to buy into that because I haven't seen any of those cause gout specifically in my practice. But when you look at those things, obviously we don't need to go high in any of those foods at all. But those foods that people eat on a daily basis for a lot of people. So there has to be what I would believe is some type of genetic or pH-based condition in the body. Now, what does pH mean? Well, the body's ability to buffer the blood at all times. So we typically maintain we maintain around a 7.356. I've spoken about that before. But anything below 7.2 and anything above 7.5, essentially the body is no longer living. Your blood it has to stay within those parameters. But what happens is it seems that the body's able to remove and create some type of acid-based crystals, this uric acid or acids in general, and move that to certain joints. And again, a lot of times affecting the big toe. Strange, but true. And so when we look at that, we say, well, so what are some of the remedies? Because I always look at, well, what fixes this? So a lot of people who get arthritis pain or gout-based pain or even gouty arthritis do really well with apple cider vinegar. They do really well with baking soda or even a mixture of water, apple cider vinegar, and baking soda. And all of these things, interesting enough, create what we say a higher pH-based environment. Now, do I say that it actually changes the pH of the blood? Not necessarily. But what if, for whatever reason, it does not allow for those same acids to form because of the higher pH quality of bicarbonate, which is sodium bicarbonate, and the minerals from apple cider vinegar? It's interesting. And we also look at tart cherries. Tart cherries is another great way to remove gout-based symptoms or not get gout in the first place. Other herbs that work are vitamin C. When I look at vitamin C, I say, okay, what does vitamin C do? Vitamin C is an amazing detoxifier of the body. It also boosts the immune system. And when I look at what forms of vitamin C work best for gout, it's all of the bicarbonate forms, like our alkalizing vitamin C. You would not use our ascorbic acid vitamin C, you would use our alkalizing vitamin C. Why? Because those are more buffered and alkaline. So I would say, interesting. So another alkaline-based product helps with gout. Okay, another great one is garlic. Garlic. Why does garlic work for a lot of people? It's a potent anti-inflammatory, and the same people who get gout are often more prone to inflammation, which brings it back to your point. Is it an MTHFR or COMT liver-based issue that's allowing for the body to not process this uric acid properly? And the last few ones are alfalfa, celery seed, cat's claw, and a couple others like I mentioned as well, such as the tart cherries that I mentioned previously. So when I look at these things, I say, okay, well, those are really great anti-inflammatories. And celery as well is great for, naturally alkalizing the body. That's a big one. And helping boost digestive-based function. So what I would say is it's most likely multifactorial. There's definitely some type of genetic component why some people get it and others don't. There might even be an ApoE genotype component where those people who are more prone to inflammation with the ApoE genotype 4, a 3-4 or a 4-4, could be more prone to gout as well. So I'm looking into all these things obviously as we speak. I believe there's most likely not one specific reason for it. But what I would say is if you are prone to gout, we know how to help you not get as much gout in the future. And that is to go lower on the high purine foods. If you don't know what high purine foods, here's one more reason, right? Some people are more prone to being what's called a slow oxidizer. Slow oxidizers don't do well with high purine foods that are harder and slower to break down in the body. A lot of good books in this. I've mentioned this before. Nutrition in Your Mind, never outdated book, The Information, just out of print book. That's an amazing book on slow and fast oxidation rates in the body. Most doctors have never even heard of this before, but it's a real thing. And you can find out your oxidation rate by simply running a hair tissue mineral analysis. Amazing lab to run. So going back to your question, I wish I could say if there's an MTHFR issue, maybe an ApoE genotype, maybe the slow oxidizer, what it goes towards. But what I can say is this: if you are prone to gout, you are going to eliminate the higher purine foods, more of the shellfish, more of the red meats, more of the processed foods and sugars. The processed sugars we're talking about, not fruit and veggies, but the processed sugars and alcohol. Alcohol especially. Alcohol is just the worst for gout. If you have gout, I certainly can't recommend a high protein diet in general. High protein, low carb, not great for gout. Hopefully that answers or at least gives you a step in the right direction for that. All right. Anonymous is up next. Anonymous wrote in, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. I recently discovered your podcast and you are amazing. I really enjoyed your podcast and learned a great deal about how to use functional medicine to heal the body. I'm writing based on severe infertility, so I apologize for the lengthy question." All right, so Anonymous goes on to write a very long, detailed question, which you can read at stephencabral.com/841. I'm going to put the whole question in there. And it just goes on to say, I'm 38, 130 pounds, 5'4", trying to conceive my first child. Been diagnosed with food sensitivities, weird rashes on my stomach, itchy skin, severe bloating, a lot of stress, periods are irregular. Goes on to talk about her hormones, history of autoimmune-based issues. Might try IVF again, but my success rate's been low. Any ideas on why the severe infertility that happened to me? Would you be willing to work with me to get back my optimal health? Thanks. Okay, well, Anonymous, of course they'd be willing to work with you. I'm willing to work with anybody who's sincere in wanting to get back their health. The only people, we have an application process. And I won't work with anyone where I don't think that they're going to listen to my recommendations. Again, I'm not trying to be mean, but why would I do that? Well, here's why. I don't want them to waste their time. I don't want them to waste their money. That's not why I got into this at all. And we have a waiting list. And so I want to help the people who want the most help and who are just going to implement what we talk about. That's it. My job is to help people. My mission is to help people. If someone writes in and they're like, I don't know if this is really going to work. I don't know if I'm going to really do it or not. Well, then it's just not the right time. Write to me in 6 months or 12 months or 2 years from now when it's the right time for you. And then, of course, then let's move forward. But the other thing as well is that I don't work with everyone, nor do I have to work with anyone. It's half the price of essentially working with me if you work with one of my health coaches. I still read your labs. I still give recommendations. And so you get a great plan, and that's certainly going to help. The other thing is you can actually run a lab with us at stephencabral.com/store, soon to be equilibriumnutrition.com, because it's going to be easier separating all of the content from the store, which is then just going to be easier for people to navigate, because right now it could be improved. I'm not going to lie, it could be improved. So yes, of course I'd be able to work with you, but let's see if we can get you some answers now. All right. So anyone who has your specific issues, right? Food sensitivities, rashes on your stomach, itchy skin, severe bloating, we have to run an organic acids test. You get itchiness and rashes over your digestive system, right? Over your abdomen, where your stomach and intestines are, a really normal place for food-based sensitivity. You have bloating, and you can gain weight fairly easy. It looks like you gained 15 pounds. Well, we need to run most likely an organic acids test. That's a definite. And then I would say, you've already run food sensitivity, so we don't need to run that. Let's run a stool test as well if you can. If not, that's okay. And then run our thyroid adrenal hormone lab. So if you can only run two, it's an organic acids test and a thyroid adrenal hormone test for you. Those are my recommendations for you specifically, okay? And so I would do that. If you could run a hair tissue mineral analysis to look for heavy metals, sure, that'd be fine and great. But what we need to do is figure out what the massive stress is on your body. Now, maybe it's just this gut permeability. You might have serious gut issues, and that's the major stressor and inflammatory reaction on your body. So we'll work on re-regulating that. You're 38 years old. We can get you healthy. We usually get people healthy within that 3-month mark to 4-month mark. And then we work on then healing and sealing the gut. I would do a heavy metal detox if I were you as well, because you're going to be conceiving a child. And we want to make sure that if you listen to my episode on this past Thursday, on episode 839, you heard how heavy metals and environmental toxins can affect unborn children. And again, this is not to scare you. It's only to help you to make your body as pure as possible. So Anonymous, I hope that helps. I'm going to get in one more because this is simply a referral-based question because I've answered it before. All right, Zach is up next. Hi, Stephen. I'm currently dealing with problems with tinnitus and strange sensations in my ear that make them sometimes feel plugged. I'm wondering if there's a sinus issue, blood pressure issue, or something else. Also had my lipid panel done a few months back, and everything was fine except my LDL was high, which is a type of bad cholesterol. For those who don't know what LDL is, it's oxidized cholesterol. Could LDL have a connection with this? What else can I do to find the type of nutrition that will work with me to get me optimal health? All right, Zach, so literally go to stephencabral.com/podcast and type in tinnitus, and then you'll see the podcast on that. Then also type in ringing in ear. Type that in, and you'll get your answers to that. You can also type in fluid in ear, and you'll probably get an answer to that. So all of these are covered. Yes, I would do the ear, nose, and throat based protocol. I would look at candida and yeast-based issues. I would look at all of the recommendations I've given before for blocked ears. You can type that in as well to /podcast. I don't believe your LDL has anything to do with your tinnitus. Not necessarily, although a lot of people with lowered B vitamins can have tinnitus as well. One of those being niacin, vitamin B3, and those with lower levels of niacin could also have high cholesterol. So sure, there is a connection. That's a possible connection. What I would start with is Well, I would start with the organic acids test to look at your B vitamin levels and look at your gut health. I would certainly do the ear, nose, and throat-based protocol. Nothing wrong with that. I would begin taking the higher levels of vitamin C, like our alkalizing vitamin C, to boost the immune system, help with any of the sinus-based issues in general. I would do the Dr. Cabral daily protocol if possible. Like that's absolutely a good start before you get your lab results back. And then, of course, you could do a Dr. Cabral detox to really clean the body out before you do any of those initial recommendations. So you'll get more detailed answers at stephencabral.com/podcasts, and then all the other answers I gave you as well. Hopefully that helps. I'm going to be sending more people back to the /podcast page for all previous shows that I've given answers on, so we can get to all new answers coming up on our weekend house calls. Stay tuned for tomorrow's show. We have more Q&A then. Take care. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you have an amazing rest of the weekend. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my health results accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.